At Team Toyota, they've been selling and servicing new and used Toyotas in your community for over 50 years, and you can reserve your next new Toyota with them today. You'll get a realistic timeline, and even in this crazy market, they won't charge you over MSRP. Or don't wait at all. With over 75 certified Toyotas, including a bunch of RAV4 and Highlanders, you can drive one home today. And you can always trust them to maintain your current vehicle. Their service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and will save you time and money. Team Toyota can help you go anywhere you want, but they'll always be your hometown team. Just visit teamtoyota.net and choose from 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. He's Jim Salisbury, and I'm Corey Seidman. We're sitting down here with you early Tuesday afternoon before the Phillies begin their brief 2-game series in Toronto. But, Jim, it was an eventful weekend for the Phils, who just finished up that 4-game wraparound series in St. Louis, claiming the first 2 games, losing the next 2 to put them back into a tie with St. Louis. And there's more news on this upcoming series that we're going to get to in a little bit. But this was an important series for the Phillies against a team that they were right neck and neck with in the playoff race and figure to be down the stretch. I mean, given the Cardinals' talent and the weakness of the NL Central. So what did you think of the way the Phillies went down to St. Louis and played this weekend?
Well, it was one of the more anticipated series, at least for me, and I think a lot of fans in a long time, at least in that mid-season range. The last few years, the Phillies have been kind of scratching for a wild card spot on the outside, sort of looking in the month of September. So they had some kind of last gasp reaches in September that came up short. Because they've had some dreadful finishes over the final 2 weeks of seasons the last 4 years. Anyway, as far as mid-season importance, mid-season big series feel, this had it going into St. Louis. The crowds were big and energetic. They always are in St. Louis. It's a great baseball environment. I would when you mention great stadiums in MLB, San Francisco and Pittsburgh are mentioned often. Dodger Stadium, the old but goodies, Fenway and Wrigley, and San Diego's a great place. St. Louis has a tremendous environment. I find, especially for a night game, has the work they've done around that stadium and the skyline and the arch and the Dred Scott Courthouse and everything is red neon. It's just and the fans are great in St. Louis. It's a terrific environment. So big series in that setting, and the Phillies just came out mostly on the backs of their pitching and Alec Bohm and win the first 2 games. And you're thinking, wow, they're off to a great start here. They gave themselves put a little air between them and the Cardinals for control of the third wild card spot. Phillies win the first 2, they go 2 up. So they go in there in a virtual tie. They go 2 up. And this series has just a great vibe to it in terms of the Phillies, for the Phillies, just because, they ride great pitching, starting from Wheeler and Gibson, and bullpen work to 2 shutouts, a 2-0 shutout and a 1-0 shutout in the first 2 games. But they don't build on that. They lose on Sunday, they lose on Monday, and they finish the 4-game series with just 7 runs scored, meaning if you don't get great pitching, you ain't winning. So I actually think, what started as a great series ended as a bit of a disappointment, because I just, you get greedy when your team wins 2 in a row. You need to win that series. They didn't win that series. They didn't protect a 3-1 lead in the middle innings on Sunday. And Nola hit a real rough patch in that 5th inning on Monday, and you end up losing 2. So, you wanted more. And I think, given where they are in the standings and kind of the tenuous place in the standings, with teams, on your back and, trying to continue to pull out of this hole that you dug early, you needed more, and they didn't get more. So disappointing to come out of there with a split, because I think it's a series they should have won, especially after getting off to that good start. But that said, they've had a tremendous run since the start of June. and it continues. They're in a virtual tie with the Cardinals for control of the third wild card spot. Percentage Phillies are percentage points ahead. I mean, there were good things that happened in St. Louis. Obviously, the pitching and the fact that they did split the series gives them the advantage in the season series with the Cardinals, which is very big in case there's some type of a tiebreaker for a wild card spot late in the season. So they'll hold that over the Cardinals, also holding it over the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Padres as well. So those are good things. So now they move on to Toronto, and that's a whole new set of circumstances.
Well, yeah. So to your point about having the season tiebreaker over the Cardinals and Brewers, first of all, the Brewers are only 2 games up on the Cardinals in the NL Central. So it's not like that division is decided. So it's meaningful that the Phils have the advantage on both. The other part of it is if you look at the teams in the standings below the Phillies and Cardinals for the third wild card, the Giants are 2 back of them, and the Marlins, who have won a bunch of games here lately, are 4 back. But everybody beyond that is far under 500, like 10 games or more under 500. So it sure looks like that final wild card spot could be coming down to the Phillies, Cardinals / Brewers, and Giants. So it's important that they have that tiebreaker. But now, yeah, the Phillies head into Toronto for this 2-game series. And this has been a topic that's been on the minds of Phillies fans for a long time. Who was and was not going to be eligible to go to Toronto because of the COVID-19 vaccine requirements. Comes out on Monday that 4 Phillies, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, Aaron Nola, and Kyle Gibson will not be traveling to Toronto. Jim, just take us through this entire day yesterday, talking to these guys who won't be going, talking to some players who will be going, about how they feel about their unvaccinated teammates. What's the vibe in the Phillies clubhouse?
Well, there's a lot there. I mean, players who are not going are disappointed they're not going. They want to be there for the teams, but they've made a personal choice. And every choice you make in life comes with rewards or consequences. And these choices come with consequences. Everybody knew where Canada stood on this and what you needed for entry into Canada. And they chose not to do it. So they're not there for their teammates for 2 games. And we know how, these Phillies know as well as anybody how important one game could be. Look what happened in 2007 when they chased down the Mets and won the division by a game. So they've made the decision. They're going to go on the restricted list. They're going to lose pay, and that's the consequence for the decision. They're not going to be there for their team in a team game, and that wounds them, I'm sure, but not enough where they would make the decision to get vaccinated so they could be there 162 for their teams. I mean, they knew this was coming. So I was very curious and have been very curious to see how this would go over in the clubhouse. And I kind of canvassed the room a bit over the last handful of days privately with some guys and on the record with other guys on Monday, on the record with Kyle Schwarber and Zack Wheeler. And, to a man, everybody says they don't feel let down by their teammates. They don't feel like their teammates are abandoning them. They feel like they made a personal decision. They have that right to make that personal decision. And guys support that. I mean, Schwarber was articulate, saying we have each other's back. He said just because we're going to Toronto and you don't have a vaccination and you can't go, that doesn't make you a bad teammate. So, they have each other's back. They're supporting each other on this. I think it's really fortunate for the Phillies that they're in the National League East, not the American League East, and don't have to go there 3 times and lose this level of talent 3 times. I mean, Gibson and Nola are not going to pitch, but if you're going to go there 9 times, they were going to pitch at some point. So they're in and out in 2 days. Teams absorb 2-day losses, with a foul ball off the big toe, with a bereavement leave, with a paternity leave, with a back spasm. They absorb a 2-day loss frequently during the season, so they need to absorb this one, with Real Muto. Bohm now is a different story. But get in and out of Toronto. I thought the split in St. Louis was a disappointment. Yeah, I think if you can get in and out of Toronto with a split, that's fine, and then go finish off the first half in Miami and play well down there. Because, like you said, Miami's playing well lately, and they're not completely out of this wild card hunt, not at all, with a half season to go. So, um, it's a very very tricky situation. I believe everybody has the right to make their own decisions about what they do with their body, but I also believe that when you're part of a team and you enter into these brotherhood and uh, this fraternity with your teammates, that things like the greater good do matter when you are in that environment. I mean, um, because it is a team game. You're trying to get to the postseason, and you're not going to do that if you're not a united group. So I don't think this is going to be a blow in their clubhouse. In fact, I think I know it. Schwarber was very sincere, I could tell, and he speaks with some gravitas because I think he's become the leader of this team. I really do. The way he plays, the way he answers the bell, the way he delivers, the way he stands up in that room and leads post game. They have a little toast after they win a game for the hero of the game, and he's sort of always right in the middle of that. The way he's at his locker to speak to reporters after good games, after bad games, he's always there to put it in perspective. Um, and what that does is it takes the burden off other guys, and it just makes for a better clubhouse. So I think he's the leader, and I think he means it what he says when he says that there are no hard feelings at all in that room. And go to Toronto, try to win with what you have, and then resume down in Miami, get Real Muto back. And don't know if they're going to get Bone back, though.
Yeah, and Bohm, who dislocated that ring finger on the slide Monday in St. Louis, I mean, he's been one of the Phillies' hottest hitters here for the last month. His last 100 plate appearances, he's hit 333 on base percentage, a little bit higher than that. He's been hitting some extra base hits lately. I had the 2-homer game in St. Louis over the weekend. So replacing him for any length of time could hurt this lineup because there aren't too many guys hitting right now. You talked about the 7 runs scored in 4 games in St. Louis. Pretty much it's like, is Schwarber going to hit a homer? Is Rhys Hoskins going to do his thing? And lately it's been Alec Boehm coming through. But other than those 3, it's just been slim pickings to find offensive help. And, the trade deadline's what? It's 20 days away or so.
Mhm.
I mean, offense would seem to be a need for the Phillies, to stem the tide until Bryce Harper gets back, whether it's adding an outfielder or a DH or something. I know we've talked about this before, but when you see them average less than 2 runs per game over a big 4-game series, it kind of highlights it again.
They have a number of needs, and you're right. The offensive performance in St. Louis does indicate that they need more help offensively. Um, they need it from within. They need Castellanos. They need Real Muto. They need more from these guys. They need Harper to heal, and they need Segura to heal and get those guys back. That's all going to help the offense, but I still think they could use more offense or even a defense in the outfield. But I also believe they need pitching, both starting and relief. I mean, Sir Anthony Dominguez they've leaned on him very very heavily, and he's been very very good. Excuse me. You could argue that he should be in the All Star game. So Sir Anthony pitched on Sunday, and he was not sharp. It was his third game in 4 days, third time out in 4 games. Didn't look sharp. You're sitting up there wondering, is he a little fatigued? And he might be. He's carried a heavy load. You have to be careful with that guy. One, he's important. Two, he's coming. He's still, he's a Tommy John survivor, and this is his first full year back. So you have to be careful with him. You cannot run him into the ground. So I think they need another dependable back end arm that can take some pressure off Sir Anthony and can complement Sir Anthony, complement Alvarado um, and Corey Knable, who maybe threw the pitch of the season the other day when he froze Arenado on Saturday. So I think you need bullpen to help you and also to support Sir Anthony. So you have Sir Anthony for the long haul. And starting rotation is a concern. Kyle Gibson delivered a great one on Saturday, but he was shaky before that for several starts. Wheeler and Nola have been very good. Nola a little shaky on Monday night. That happens. He'll have one more before the break. I'm very curious to see how he bounces back. Ranger Suarez could be back in Miami or right after the All Star break. Zach Eflin to me is still a question mark, still a concern until he's back in the on the mound, looking like the Zach Eflin of old. I think there's reason to be a little concerned about their starting pitching because they have very very little depth. So I look at this as a team could use offense, could use bullpen and starting pitching, and I do expect Dave Dombrowski to make moves. And I know the bullpen has been very good lately, but I just don't think that can talk you out of going out and getting more bullpen help. And I think they need to be in the starting pitching market as well. Um, because pitching is just so important. If you can get good pitching, you don't have to score as many runs. I mean, you're going to need runs, but we saw what happened on Friday and Saturday when they got great pitching. They could win with 2 runs. They could win with one run. So we're getting close to the trade deadline, and that's going to be important for these guys.
And what you said is so true. I mean, they just need more out of Nick Castellanos. They need more out of JT Realmuto. Beyond Bryce Harper, those are the 2 highest paid position players on this roster, making about $44 million annually. And they've both been disappointing. JT Realmuto has been middle of the pack offensively this season, not just among position players, I mean, among catchers. Looked this up the other day, and there were 34 catchers who had at least 150 plate appearances this season, and Realmuto ranked 17th in OPS. They're paying him to be better than that. Nick Castellanos, there's a lot of talk about, okay, you look at the track record, he's at 290 over the last 5 seasons, and guys get back to their numbers. But I mean, I would point you to the first 2 full seasons of Nick Castellanos' career back in 2014 and 15 with the Tigers, when he produced pretty much the same numbers that he's done this year, 257 batting average, on base just over 300, slugging just over 400 that year, those 2 years. And that's pretty much what he's done this season too. So you just wonder if there's enough time for him to come out of this. He doesn't seem to be able to translate one good swing to his next at bat. A lot of off balance, a lot of behind in counts. And we've talked about this a lot, but he's just hasn't been the player the Phillies thought they were getting here in year 1. And Kyle Schwarber, I mean, he has. And the problem is that he's probably not going to hit 15 homers a month every month. So you just wonder if this offense is going to have enough when that happens. The Phillies do catch a break in the first game of this Toronto series, Jim. There was a possibility that they would face Kevin Gausman, the Blue Jays ace, who was struck a couple weeks ago by a line drive on the ankle. He has not pitched since. He was in play to start Tuesday, but instead it'll be Jose Barrios, who's really gotten hit around this season. And for the Phillies, it'll be Andrew Bellotti starting a bullpen game. So what's the Phillies' rotation setup here in this final week before the All-Star break? They have Bellotti going today. Does that mean Sunday is going to be another bullpen game?
Well, they are hoping maybe Suarez can get on the mound in Miami. They're not certain about that. Nola and Gibson will pitch in Miami, and possibly Suarez or bullpen game. When would Wheeler? When did he go? He went on. Oh, he goes tonight. I'm sorry. He goes tonight, Tuesday, and he goes Wednesday, right? He goes Wednesday in Toronto, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's out. Okay, so yeah, it'll be some combination of Gibson. I think will pitch Friday night, and then Nola will pitch one of those final 2 games, and maybe Suarez or a bullpen game.
Right. So Wheeler is going Wednesday, and Zach Wheeler has a 2.46 ERA this season. He was not named a National League All-Star. Pretty surprising. Snubbed last year for Cy Young, snubbed this year for the All-Star nod. Did he seem like he was perturbed by that? Did you catch any bad feelings from Zach Wheeler on that?
I talked to him, and he said, he kind of sloughed it off. But his body language suggested disappointment. Yes, his body language suggested that he thought he belonged there, and I agree with him. I think he belongs there. I think he had the kind of the up and down spring training at the shoulder early. Then he was sick. He didn't get a lot of mound time. Then he gets on the mound in April, and he's not stretched out, so he has some shorter outings. So his innings total lags behind other starters. That might have hurt him a little bit, but some of his other numbers are just ridiculously great, and his recent performances are ridiculously great. The fact that he's not pitching over the weekend, and we invariably every year see pitchers drop off the All-Star roster because they pitch on the final weekend because they just something comes up and they need the rest. I could see Zack Wheeler sliding in as a replacement or being asked to be a replacement, which to me is still an all-star. It's an honor. Um, whether or not he will accept it, I do not know. He said, but I sensed disappointment. He said it would have been a privilege, but he'll just spend time with his family. Who knows? He might end up there after all. Um, but you look at Carlos Rodon from the San Francisco Giants. He can make a case he should have been there. Every year, there's guys that can make a case they should have been there, and Clayton Kershaw is on the roster in his home ballpark, a veteran guy, and I think that's a good thing. The fans want to see him, so somebody always gets squeezed out, and that Zack Wheeler, Carlos Rodon, at least for now, those are the guys that are, but they could still end up there. But Wheeler, if he has to take a rest over the break, it's not the worst thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Because he's a horse, and because he's super important to this team. And I could see him be really primed for a big second half and a Cy Young run. Plenty of time to make a big Cy Young run here, and that's a guy that's very capable of doing it. They're really going to need him, especially with the uncertainty surrounding Zach Eflin. We don't know when he's going to be back. Threw a bullpen the other day, still monitoring him. And as I said, until you really see him making strides, he has to be in that question mark concern area. Starting pitching is in that question mark concern area. And if, with Wheeler, you have a real stabilizer. You need to keep him fresh. You need to keep him healthy, and he needs to keep performing. And this team's got to start hitting with its existing guys. Hey, it would be great if they brought in somebody from the outside, but you can't bank on it. You can't bank on a bat coming in. You have to get more from the guys that are here, and you have to hope that Segura's index finger and Harper's thumb heal quickly, and those guys come back and swing it good right from the get-go. I used to talk to old school baseball trainers about this, athletic trainers, and they used to say hand injuries are tricky. You need 75, 100 at bats to really, even after you heal, 75, 100 at bats to feel like your old self. Well, they're not going to. Segura and Harper are going to need to feel like once they're healthy and healed up, they're going to need to feel like their old self right away, because the Phillies are going to need them to look like their old selves right away.
Real quick on the point of Zack Wheeler potentially maybe getting in as a replacement. Looking at the schedule this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, there's only one National League All-Star pitcher scheduled to pitch either day. That's Max Fried. So, barring injury, it might be difficult for extra guys to get in there. And as you mentioned, Carlos Rodon would be probably at the top of the list. Jim, as we sat down to start recording, Kyle Schwarber announced via Instagram that he will participate in the 2022 Home Run Derby. He was in it in 2018. It's kind of funny to look back at the 2018 Home Run Derby field because three of the last four guys standing were Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, and Kyle Schwarber. So Schwarber will be in it for the second time. You've covered baseball for a very long time. You've seen a lot of home run derbies. You've seen it affect guys' swings, I guess, both positively and negatively. How do you think it's going to impact Schwarber, if at all?
I think it's always case to case. It certainly hasn't hurt Pete Alonso, who goes out and wins every year and then hits a whole bunch of bombs. I mean, the big case in point I think we point to around here is Abreu. Was it 06 maybe in Detroit? He hit a bunch. I was actually sitting in left field, and I was sitting in right field. I'm sorry. They had an auxiliary press box out in right field in Detroit, and he was hitting them over my head. I'm trying to type a story, and you can't because he's hitting these bombs at you, going over your head. And so I actually got one of the balls too. I got one of the I don't think he hit it. But I have a home run derby ball from 06. I might have it in this room. And it was, I picked it up off the ground. Somebody hit it out there because I was sitting out there in right field. Home run derby is exciting. I was at the one in Fenway when McGuire was hitting him onto the Mass Pike. I was at the one in Turner Field. I think it was like 2000 with Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa changed the strategy of the home run derby. So the home run derby, it used to be this event in the daytime, and then they'd show it at night. Then it blossomed into a primetime special, and guys would just go up there and just try to unload. And they still go up there and they try to unload. But Sammy Sosa, I think it was 2000 in Turner Field, he hit a ton of them. He like hit 50 bombs. And what he would do is he brought rest into the picture. He'd hit one, he'd hit two, he'd get his rhythm going, first round. But by that second round, boom, then he's taking one. He's taking two. He's getting some recovery time, right? And it made it a longer event, but he's getting that little bit of recovery and rest. Boom, boom. He put on a big show in Turner Field. And I think he kind of changed the strategy after that guy started resting a little bit. And then Abreu had that big derby in Detroit, and Ryan Howard had that big derby in Pittsburgh. I mean, from a local perspective, those were very exciting. Watching McGuire and some of those other guys make Fenway Park look like one of those miniature diamonds that you put on the coffee table. I mean, it was amazing what they did to that place. So, home run derby is a lot of fun, and I'm glad Pujols is in it. It's a great event for the fans. So it's really great that Pujols is in it for his swan song. I see Acuna is going to be in it. Exciting guy. Pete Alonso, who loves it. Pete Alonso's got some showman in him. He's great for the fans. He's great. This game is supposed to be entertaining, and he's a guy who really embraces that. Schwarber said the other day he wasn't sure he was going to be in it because he said it's a lot of fun. It's a bucket list thing in your career, but it's really taxing. And I can see where would be really taxing. I just think he's such a character player. From just the 3 or 4 months I've been around him, I think he's such a character guy that he realizes I'm leading the National League in home runs. I kind of have a responsibility to the game, to my profession, to the game, and most of all, to the fans to be out there. So, I mean, hats off to him for making that decision to go out there and try to launch a few for the fans in the home run derby.
Yeah, you can see how it would be taxing. I mean, think about how many A swings you are taking throughout that day between the batting cages, between the home runs you actually hit, just all the pitches you see. You can see how it would tire a player out, especially if they're then participating in the All-Star game the next day, which Schwarber will be. But that's next Monday, the home run derby, and next Tuesday for the All-Star game. But first up, the Phillies have 5 more games before the break, 2 in Toronto, 3 in Miami. 5 games over 500 as they head into those final 5 games. So thanks a lot for listening to the Phillies Talk podcast. He's Jim Salisbury. I'm Corey Seidman. We'll catch you soon.